Hey Jeremiah, what's going on? Rob Cesternino here. How are you doing today, Jeremiah? In your beautiful home?
I'm talking to a Libra, my nemesis of like Survivor. So everything's good. I watched the episode with my parents last night, which was so amazing. I've been a fan for 24 years. I'm from Canada. So to even be on Survivor is just like so surreal to me.
Well, Jeremiah, let me tell you about us Libras on Survivor. We like to weigh our options
Yeah.
and think about things, and maybe opens up the door for other people to maybe like plan against us. So tell me a little bit about what went into, from your perspective, how this all ended up going bad with Alex playing his idol and Sophie voting with Alex.
Yeah, so I think, you know what, at the end of the day, we were like on, as you all saw, a disaster tribe, and like we were down to three people. And it was just one of those situations where we kind of wanted to go together to like the swaps and work together. So when Jake, was removed from the game, it was just like one of those conversations. Like Alex and I connected more on like a friendship level, and like Alex took me out of the game a lot. We didn't really talk about a lot about strategy. I also saw like how the type of player that he was when we blindsided Annie and Nicole. So I got a glimpse into Alex that he was like more of a listener and taking people's like information, and he was very kind, and he says he like he could do things with a smile. I know that he's a communications person, so he's like very neutral. I know he's a Libra, so he doesn't like confrontation. And then you have Sophie, who I was working with Sophie from like day one. She like had like she was working with Jake and me. I knew that relationship that she had with Jake. She had Jake wrapped around her finger, and I was like totally fine with that. And it was like she's such a gamer. And so yeah, it was just like one of those situations. So I couldn't, when it was, the three of us, I couldn't reverse my whole 6 days with Alex and start coming on strong and like literally tell him like that I'm voting for Sophie. I did tell him that, but I couldn't, I had to keep, that friend, that connection. So he was asking me like, should I play my idol? And I'm like, as a friend, you should play your idol. So I was just trying to be real with him and answer his questions. And he had a lot of questions. And like when you're so hungry and you're not sleeping, I felt like I was in a coma but sleepwalking. And I
Yeah.
couldn't keep track of like all my lies. So I just needed to kind of keep that connection with Alex.
So tell me, from my perspective, is there anything you could have done differently to have changed this?
I don't think so. I don't think that there was anything that I could have done. I didn't think that Alex was going to play his idol. There was a moment when Sophie had asked me what Alex and I were talking about, and I'm like, she flipped. And then I spent a lot of time thinking, do I play my shot in the dark? But when there's only three votes, and if there was a tie, like if Alex was to vote for Sophie, Sophie was to vote for Alex, I played my shot in the dark, that would have been a tie. It would have gone to a tiebreaker. I would have been removed from the game.
Yeah.
And so what I went into that trouble was Sophie had flipped on me. I vote for Alex and Alex votes for Sophie. And then we do a tiebreaker.
Yeah. It's a real tough prisoner's dilemma. You have to trust what the other people are telling you, and ultimately, everybody's looking out for themselves. So this was a tough spot for sure for you. Tell me, if Jake didn't get bit by the snake, are you and I having this conversation right now today?
Oh, so I in my mind, I think Sophie had Jake wrapped around her finger, like, and he would have compromised his own game for Sophie. Sophie would have, and I don't think she would have voted out me, and so Jake would have Alex and her. I think Sophie would have wanted to have me and Jake. And so I think that she would have been able to convince him to vote out Alex,
And not play
but
his idol.
to vote out Alex. But we
Yeah.
don't know if Alex is going to play his idol. So I just don't know because
Okay.
Alex did ask me what my relationship was with Jake and Sophie. It would have depended on Alex.
Okay, you had such a great relationship with Sophie in the game. Did you have any hard feelings towards her for ultimately deciding to cut bait and just go with Alex, which was going to be the safer play that didn't put her in danger last night?
So no, I don't because we're like I threw Sophie like under the bus. She threw me under the bus. If she would have went with me, and voted against Alex. Alex still played his like idol.
Yeah.
I'm still going home. So if he didn't play his idol and I went home and it went that way, we would be having a different conversation.
Yeah. Okay. So, Jeremiah, could you go back to the beginning of Kele? Did it have to always be this way? I'm sure you've replayed all of this. Is there a different way that you could have seen Kele coming together that at least, even if you guys lose, that ends up in a better spot for you?
So when we arrived on the beach, I took a step back to see who was talking to who. Nicole was really talking to Jake. Annie was building the shelter. She built that shelter in 10 minutes. Alex was like a social butterfly. And then Sophie and I had a conversation, and then Jake and I had a conversation. I don't really know if it could be like any different way.
Yeah. It seemed like that four was destined to head together, and it really did feel like that Nicole and Annie were really on the outs and didn't have a way in.
So when we were on the boat ride, I did think to myself, I'm like, if Annie and Nicole both come to me, I love an underdog. That's just who I am as a person. I might have been a third for them, but I don't know if they couldn't find another one. I'm not sure.
Okay. Talk to me about when Jake got bit by the snake. From your perspective, how did that all go down when you were on the beach?
So Alex and we were in the shelter. I was taking a nap. I was half asleep. Sophie was out for a walk, and then I just heard Jake say, "Guys, come down here." So I'm like running down. Also not sleeping, not eating. It was like so hot out, and then he's like, he got bit by a snake, and it's like, wait, what? And he didn't know if he got bit by a snake right away, and then he saw like the bite marks, and then. I don't know if like I just like a happy-go-lucky type of person. Like I thought he was coming back in my mind. And then when he like left on the boat, Sophie's just like he got bit on his foot, like how is he gonna compete? And then Alex was like, oh, like I don't think that like a venomous snake bite, like I don't think he's coming back. So we didn't find out until the challenge as you saw.
Okay. How much of a blow was it to find out that Jake wasn't coming back? You've struggled so much in the challenges, and now here's a guy who's really great in the challenges. And also, by the way, you're not going to have this really strong guy for the challenge.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. We were disaster tribe and things just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And we're just kind of like, at that point, it's just kind of like we're just gonna take the beating and just we just have to persevere. We're on Survivor, the world's greatest game. So it's just like one of those like, shitty situations. And then also like game aside, like as a friend, as a competitor, like if it was anybody, you just don't want somebody to go out in that manner.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
And then it seemed like that you all had not that much trouble with the actual challenge, but the puzzles were always, and I felt like that you got off to a good start in the challenge last night. I saw you got the first piece, and I was like, okay, I think that maybe they're not going to be first, but I thought that you had a good chance to do it. What ended up happening with the puzzle this time?
Rob, it's literally like you have these people and we're like trying to break through a brick wall with our hands. And it's just kind of like we keep running and we keep like we're never going to get through it. I think so. None of us were great at puzzles. It could be the lack of sleep, it could be the lack of food, it could be how hot it was. But then Jason, as an alternate, I kind of think like tipped the scales a little bit because that kid can do puzzles like is with his eyes closed.
Mhm.
So maybe that had something to do with it.
Okay. So, can you go back to this idea? And this has been something that we've had a lot of debate in the podcast Survivor Talk space about that losing your flint, losing your supplies, not getting all of the supplies, that really makes the losing snowball for a tribe like yours. As somebody who lived through it, what's your perspective on that?
Rob, like I honestly, I came back and I'm like, wow, like I didn't eat and I didn't sleep and it was like so hot. And then when I'm watching the show and I'm seeing people eat crabs and like their magnificent shelters and like we didn't even have a ground. Annie built our shelter. And like we were sleeping on the beach, but that was the only kind of like survivor that like I knew. So I didn't know any different going when I was out there. But like looking back, it's just kind of like you could even see like in our confessionals, like we are just down, like we are just different people. We didn't eat, you know? And so I ate worms, which I would like never eat worms, but like that just shows you how hungry I was. And so I know Jeff loves that's part of the game. So I don't
Yeah.
question the game. Those are the rules.
Yeah, I know that that's the rules, and we don't have a lot of say in what they do unless they do fan votes for things like next
Yeah.
season. But you did feel like that losing, not having your tribe supplies really did play a factor in the tribe losing.
Of course. Yeah, we
Yeah,
had nothing. We had nothing, and the teams are getting stronger against us. And like, how do you get up when you're so low?
yeah. So can you talk a little bit about your plans moving forward? If you made it through that tribal council with Sophie, what were you think? What was the rest of your game going to look like?
I was just trying to fly under the radar, and then I would have stuck with Sophie. I would have linked up with Christina. I got really good vibes from
Yeah.
Christina. And I would have just continued to work with people, but like kind of not flow, but go with the group of people, get information and find a few people that I wanted to work with and stick with them.
Your laugh was iconic during the season. Yeah. Did you know that this was such a talked about thing, before Survivor? Obviously, you've seen it when it's been in the episode, but did people always talk to you about this before Survivor?
No, it was one of those things that whenever I used to laugh, like people would laugh with me. And like, I think all my friends are just kind of like used to like my laugh. And so there was a point when, like during casting, when someone said that my laugh was very like evil and mischievous. And so I was like trying so hard not to laugh out there, but like, it's just part of like who I am. But I didn't know my laugh was like, I didn't know I had a unique laugh.
Yeah. And did you know that it could be taken as an evil laugh? Because they really, in the show, they really played it a couple times as like a very like evil, maniacal, like Joker-like laugh.
Yeah, I knew that they could, and I knew that sort of like my laugh could definitely be used against me. And then as I'm reading like posts and everything, people are saying like my laugh is fake. I'm like, there's no way my laugh is
No,
fake, but whatever.
you can't fake that.
You can't.
Yeah. Okay. What is the best astrological sign for a Survivor player to be?
So I've actually done a study of all the zodiac signs, and the number one zodiac sign that comes on top is a Capricorn. And so Capricorns are most likely to win Survivor.
Okay. And that's because the most popular sign has been a Capricorn
The
in terms of
number,
winners.
yes.
Can you give me some quick winners that were Capricorns?
Oh my goodness. Marianne's a Capricorn.
Hmm.
There's so many
Yeah.
Capricorn. I
Well,
think
what is it
Rob's
about?
a
Yeah. What
Capricorn.
is it about them?
Capricorns just like they are very observant. They have strategic plans. They're non-threatening. They just listen. They observe. You don't see their actions, but they execute.
Okay. Last thing, Jeremiah, when I talked to Nicole and I asked Nicole about the moment where she spit the water in your face, she said, Jeremiah asked me to spit in his face, and you didn't see that. Is that true, Jeremiah?
Only Nicole knows the truth to that answer. No. Yes, Nicole helped me so much. I was struggling. I opened my eyes underwater when I was in the mud. And when I came back, I just, like when we stopped competing, I just felt like the mud was behind my eyes. So I looked at her and I said, please spit in my eye. And
Wow.
she tried to spit. She had no saliva. I told her to get the water. She got the water. And I'm so happy she spat in my eye.
Okay. It was not a dry bite that day.
It was not. It was.
Your mind, Jeremiah, because to think of that even in that dire circumstance is so resourceful.
I was in a lot of pain and it was really scary. But I think even Jake wouldn't even spit in my eye. So Nicole took one for the team. Love her.
All right, Jeremiah, thank you so much
Thank you.
for making the time to talk. And I'm sure we'll hear more from you in the future.
Rob, thanks. Thank you so much.
All
See
right.
ya.
Take care. All the best. Bye.
Bye.
And
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.